Jai Hind viewers, it's my honor today to welcome Mr. Santosh Ghimire on the candid conversation on global strategic and defense news to discuss the becoming of the Nepalese Prime Minister Prachanda and the impact on Nepal's relations with India and China. Santosh Ghimire is a senior correspondent based in Nepal who specializes in foreign affairs and has over 16 years of experience in the Nepalese media. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Candid Conversation.
Good morning, Colonel Sudhi, and thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak on the current political situation of Nepal and also Nepal's ties with India and China in the changed context.
Thank you, sir. So my first question to you is, how successful would be Prachanda as Nepal's Prime Minister?
The President became Prime Minister of Nepal last week, and this is the third time he is the Prime Minister of the country. Earlier, he became Prime Minister in 2016 and 2008. So this time, he is Prime Minister at a time when the country is facing multiple challenges. First thing is, he came in power based on a cooperation with the coalition partners. He has at least 6 coalition partners, and the UML is the main force that is supporting him. So UML, which remained in opposition for the past 2.5 years, is now backing him, and other 5 parties, which are smaller parties, they are backing him. So this government is a coalition of 6 parties. I think it will be a very difficult to keep the coalition intact because they have different ideologies and their background is totally different. Maoist supports republicanism, and like RPP, Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, which is a strong supporter of the monarchy, and also that party is pro-Hindu. And at the same time, UML, it is backing him, Prachanda. I mean, it is backing Prachanda, but they have serious disputes, and they had lot of differences over domestic issues in the past. Although they are the 2 communist parties, UML and the Maoists, they have a common ideology, but despite that, they have series of disputes. So this coalition will be a shaky, I think. So still, Prachanda can manage that and go.
Right, so that was pretty informative. Given the kind of shaky coalition, like you rightly brought out, Prachanda is in, and he's heading it to become the Nepal's Prime Minister. What do you think? How would Nepal's relations with India and China shape up during the tenure of Prachanda as the Prime Minister of Nepal?
Yeah, with India, we have very historic and civilizational linkages. There is open border. So this relation can be further strengthened if leaders of both the countries really work in a good manner. But in Nepal, now Prachanda is in power, and I think in this tenure of Prachanda as the third Prime Minister, as the third time in his premiership, Prachanda will try to develop good ties with India, although in the past he had sort of anti-Indian stance. But now I think he will try to do, he will try to develop good ties with India because we have very deep and, friendly ties with India. People-to-people relations is really nice. So at the political level, we have to enhance relations, and this will really benefit the interest of both the countries and people. So now he has a challenge to develop good ties at the political level in the Indian establishment. So, and at the same time, Nepal's relations with China, over the years, China has invested heavily in Nepal particularly in the field of infrastructure. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, China is trying to come in a heavy way. So I think uh, Prachand will try to seek balanced relations with India and China.
Well, sir, that was really very interesting and quite a nice view to hear from you. What do you think that the China-Nepal economic corridor, which had been languishing for quite some time, will get a big boost under Prachand as the Prime Minister?
Just yesterday, Prachanda spoke, in Pokhara about China-Nepal cooperation while he was inaugurating the Pokhara Regional International Airport, which was built with the Chinese assistance. So he sought more projects from China in the coming days. But the thing is that, the BRI, so there is a mixed perception in Nepal regarding the BRI. Some people, really are pushing for this concept, the BRI, a mega infrastructure initiative. And of course, this is not just an infrastructure initiative. This is a strategic and geostrategic initiative. So, so whether Nepal will have a kind of, problem that now Sri Lanka is facing, the economic distress, Nepal will face similar kind of, economic distress, which is currently Sri Lanka is facing, or it will reap benefit from China's economic rise. It is yet to see because Nepal has not yet implement projects under the BRI. So, so this, as you are talking about the economic corridor between China and Nepal, this economic corridor was envisaged, long ago, but in the current time, people are talking this, almost day to day. This is figuring here in the political and, you know, people level almost, people are very much familiar with this. So, so this corridor, there are several factors whether it can be really launched in the coming days or not. There are so far there are just talks at the political level about the Nepal China economic corridor, but there are several challenges associated with it. First, there are geographical barriers. We have Himalayas between us. China and Nepal, they are good friends, of course. China is our big neighbor. So, but we have challenges like, geographical barriers and also people to people relations is not so that close as we have with India because we have language barriers. So, but due to geographical barriers, this project may not be immediately come into operation, but still, there are efforts to materialize it.
Right, sir. Sir, last year in the month of June, the Indian Armed Forces had announced the Agnipath scheme for recruitment of its soldiers. And after some time, there were reports in the media that the Nepalese government had said that we will not send our citizens to join the Gurkha Rifles, of which they have been a integral part historically and have fought various wars and have, performed great acts of bravery. So, what is the current situation now? Are the citizens of Nepal being allowed to join the Indian Army under the Agnipath scheme?
Colonel Sodhi, as far as concerned about Agnipath scheme, Nepal was sending its soldiers based on the tripartite agreement between UK, Nepal, and India back in 1950s. So this Agnipath scheme, what Nepal has conveyed to India that let us have some kind of new arrangement if we do not adhere to that agreement. So, and the current Agnipath scheme, of course, this will be beneficial for Nepal youth, to my understanding. But what the government of Nepal conveyed, the former government led by Mr. Deuba, it conveyed that let us have some sort of understanding, bilateral understanding about sending youth to Indian Army, because thousands of youths are joining there. They are greatly benefiting by, joining the army. So Indian Army, and also similarly, thousands of people are joining the British Army every year. So this needs to be continued, and this Agnipath scheme could be beneficial because there are two things. One, Nepal is facing, the problem of unemployment, and Nepali youths have no option other than joining Indian Army or go to Gulf or somewhere else for job opportunity. So this could be, on the one hand, this will greatly contribute to generate the good remittance. And the thing is, and another thing is that Nepal and India have a good, relations at the, at the level of army also. Nepal is having very good, defense cooperation with India. So this relation should be further strengthened, and based on the 1950 treaty, we have cooperating a lot on other fronts also. We have open border. So this military to military ties should also be further strengthened, and this, sending Nepali youth to Indian Army is also part of that. So, but there was, of course, protest within Nepal over this, against this Agnipath scheme. But despite that, I think the current government, led by Prachanda, will force a national consensus and, have a good, common opinion on this on the national front, on the domestic.
Absolutely, sir. Very well said. I really hope things work out well because the Gurkhas have been one of the bravest soldiers of the Indian Army. And so, my last question to you is that how alive is the Nepalese political establishment and the Nepalese media to the Chinese debt trap diplomacy, knowing what has happened to Sri Lanka, Pakistan is on the verge of being bankrupt. So, how alive is this reality there in Nepal?
Yeah, in fact, in your previous question, I wanted to add more, but now you are asking, that's fine. So, Nepal is, of course, well aware of the economic distress that Sri Lanka is currently facing, and Pakistan also facing the same kind of problem. Nepal became part of the Belt and Road Initiative in 2017, but not a single project has gone into implementation, since then under the VR. So there are apprehensions in Nepal whether Nepal will have similar kind of trouble if it gets huge commercial loans from China under the VR. But now there is a mixed opinion within Nepal. A section of people are saying that let us work with China under the BRI and negotiate with them over interest rates, you know, over the loans. Like, we can get commercial loans, but still we can negotiate with them. Another thing is that with the example of Sri Lanka and Pakistan, there are apprehensions, understanding in Nepal. There is understanding in Nepal whether Nepal will fall in debt trap. So since Nepal has not yet implemented the PRI project, so Nepal will have to do better homework how to, avoid debt trap, because debt is, Nepal is a small country and Nepal cannot afford huge loan. So far, our loan, the foreign assistance that we have been getting from other countries, including loans and grants, these are, somehow it is balanced. But in the coming days, given the current economic scenario of Nepal, Nepal cannot afford huge loans. So it can better negotiate with China under the BRI and go ahead. So debt trap, of course, Sri Lanka is facing, and they are, now passing through the, I think, hardest times of their life. So Pakistan is also facing this crisis, and they are approaching IMF. So I think our political leadership will be well aware of these developments and do whatever suits for Nepal, because Nepal is already part of BRI and we have kind of compulsion because we are in a very complex geopolitical situation. We are having very difficult geopolitical situation, and we cannot neither we can avoid China nor we can avoid India or any other big powers like US. US is also coming heavily. Now they are supporting Nepal. They are providing grants under the MCC, but still US is also a big power. So Nepal will have a very difficult situation to manage its ties with India, China, and US. So Nepal will have to treat carefully and do its and serve its interest according to its national plan.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really very educative, listening to you and having these insights straight from Nepal. And once
And
again,
one thing
thank
I
you
want to
for
add,
honoring.
yeah, at the end, I want to add one thing. Now Nepal and China are also discussing about cross-border railway. So now a Chinese team in Kathmandu to carry out the feasibility study. So it may take still 42 months to complete that feasibility study and find out whether the railway is feasible or not. So of course, Nepal has already held negotiations with China, and one thing is Nepal has to diversify its trade with other countries via China and India. And at the same time, Nepal has a challenge to avoid uh, debt trap and and other problems associated with BRI and even there are some concerns of environmental impact from building this railway project. So Nepal will have to face these challenges and go ahead and have good ties with India, China, and US. So these are the three powers that has that have say in Nepal. They can have a greater influence in Nepal in the country.
Thank you once again, sir. It was really my honor and privilege that you came on my show. And I really
Yeah.
hope in future, under Prachanda as the Prime Minister of Nepal. Yes, sir. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, please, Conan, US saying something.
Yeah. So I really hope in future, with Prachand as the Nepalese Prime Minister, the relations between India and Nepal go from strength to strength, because India and Nepal have three main, relations with each other. One is historic, one is strategic, and the third is the military relationships. So really hope,
Yeah,
like you
our
rightly said,
Prime
we have good
Minister,
relations with each other.
yeah, our Prime Minister Prachand, in a recent interview with ABP News of India, he mentioned that his first visit to foreign country will begin from India, and he wants to, I think, have a good ties with India in the coming days. India and Nepal have already launched several connectivity projects and other projects that will largely benefit the people of Nepal. Like there is also, one cross-border railway, Virganj Kathmandu railway. So that is already, in the process. So that will greatly benefit to enhance the connectivity between the two countries. So like Jainagar Janakpur railway has already come into operation. So there are several things that are in pipeline, and some have already gone into implementation, including the railway. That Janakpur Jainagar railway that has already come into operation. So I think in the coming days, Nepal-India relations will, see a good future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's my real pleasure to talk.